Chain Hook, Exsanguinate, Cast on Crit, Slayer. I've always been fascinated with how bad Chain Hook is, and considering how much fun I've been having lately, I figured it was time to put an end to it. When putting this build together, I had two very important goals in mind. One, it had to be fast, and two, it had to be stupid. I'd say I've accomplished at least one of those, but I'll leave it up to you to decide which one. As one does when reaching the actual endgame, I spent about a day in PoB and came up with this crazy idea that I just had to put to the test. This meant making a new character, so I bought some gear, booted up this leveling guide, and just like that, Sir Chainhooker III was born. After about just under 4 hours, I had finished the campaign, and 2 hours and 9 divines later, I was level 95, ready to go. I bought all my essentials, a +2 Scepter of Attack Speed, a Wrathith Globe, an Exsanguinate Replica Dragonfang, Chaos Spirit, Ming's Heart, and a bunch of unique jewels, as well as all the fancy gems I would need, which ran me about 60 divines, and before I knew it, it was finally time to try it out. It was terrible. I then remembered that I hadn't done the Granddaddy Crab quest for an extra skill point, so I went and cleared that up. Of course, being an idiot, I also left my most important ascendancy node for last, since it would have been useless while leveling, which meant I had to go do the Uber lab on this scuffed build, and I nailed it. So I ran everyone's favorite campaign zone once more, and things were looking up. Next up, tier 16s, and while it was definitely functional, I was still running into some problems. Yeah, primarily death. I quickly established that Dissolution of the Flesh and Wrathpith Globe simply needed to go. On paper they seemed great, but in reality they were just so impractical that I had to find replacements. A +1 shield with life and spell crit and a Watcher's Eye with vitality life gain on hit would have to do. After a couple maps, I remembered that simply slotting in that Watcher's Eye doesn't actually do anything if I don't actually equip and use a vitality gem, a mistake I seem to make at least once per league now. With that sorted out, it was time to map and refine the build, so to speak, to eventually reach the point where it's at now at about 100 divines invested, and I felt confident enough in the build to get an expert's opinion.
Any chance you'd want to react to a 1-minute 20 map showcase of my 100% original Chain Hook? Shoot it. You had me at Chain Hook. Chain Hook. 1 minute 20 strand. This guy is redefining the meta. I'm hooked. You're fucking cooked. He doesn't even click on the shrine before. He's just like, let these guys crip me here. I'll just show off, all right? Oh, shrine gameplay. Shrine gameplay. Is that a fast AF video? Holy. All right, we're going to see the boss damage in a second. Whopping fools. All right, that's a good ending.
Clearly, he's a fan. So here's how the build works. Divergent Chain Hook is linked to Woke Cast on Crit, Divergent Exsanguinate, Level 4 Empower, Woke Chain, and increased crit damage. Leap Slam is linked with faster attacks and Peacock for power charge generation. Molten Shell and Summon Ice Golem are linked with cast when damage taken, so I don't have to think about them, because who likes thinking? Herald of Purity, Determination, Precision are all linked to a level 3 Enlighten for damage, crit, and defense. The Enlighten plus a bunch of reservation tattoos lets me squeeze Pride in, which is real nice. Level 5 Vitality, Val RF, and Divergent Berserk are all off by themselves. I pop both Val RF and Berserk all the time while mapping for some awesome speed and damage boosts. Phantasmal Ancestral Protector is used for more attack speed, and yes, it sucks having to use it, I agree. And Assassin's Mark is linked to Mark on Hit for more damage. As for gear, I've got this +2 alternating scepter with attack speed, crit multi, and a Secrets of Suffering implicit, which gives us that tiny bit of crit we're missing to be 100% crit capped when everything's up. A pretty boring +1 shield with life and spell crit, an enchanted helmet with exsanguinate damage, accuracy, lots of life and armor, spell damage, and vuln effect. A pretty crazy 6-link double influence cast on crit astral plate with life, armor, a ton of resistances, +1 to all max res, and attacks and spells have more base crit. This is the most expensive item in the build, costing me 17 divines. Well worth it though, IMO. The ever popular Kaom Spirit Gloves, which converts life regen into rage with a decent spell crit corruption, a pair of double influence 2-tone boots with life, resist, movement speed, onslaught on kill, tailwind on crit, and cooldown recovery, which is pretty important since cast on crit breakpoints are a thing, a +3 exsanguinate replica Dragonfang with Whispers of Doom anointed so that I can run Assassin's Mark and vulnerability, which I am getting from this ring that has life, cursed with vuln on hit, some intelligence, and minus mana cost of skills, which helps a bit considering my attack speed is pretty high. A Ming's Heart that gives me a ton of damage and chaos res at the cost of about 500 max life, totally worth it. This Stygian Vise with more CDR allows me to reach that final breakpoint where I can scale my attack speed up to 10 attacks per second if I wanted to. A typical crit flask setup, nothing special here, and all of these jewels. Tekrod's Gaze gives me more attack crit based on how many Murderous Abyss jewels I use. I've got 2. An Ancestral Bond Impossible Escape lets me grab some reservation efficiency, spell crit, and 10% life right over here. A very large Thread of Hope lets me get some frenzy and endurance charge generation and a bit of life leech. Actually, I have no idea how important that is. This Watcher's Eye gives me life on hit and some chance at double damage while using Pride. Lastly, I've got a couple extremely useful and extremely cheap Forbidden Jewels that give me first to strike, last to fall from the Champion Ascendancy. This lets me use Val RF to remove all ailments and grants me Adrenaline for 20 seconds, which makes Chainhook go brrr. I've also got a basic cluster jewel setup that essentially just gives fizz damage and crit. My tree looks like this, it's nothing special really. POB in the description of course, you can poke around and optimize this even further, though I can't imagine why you would want to do that, it's obviously perfect already. For Ascendancies, it's really simple, I've got crit, damage, call, and leech. Easy peasy. For tattoos, I just went for the +1 to strength gems for exsanguinate damage, and some Tassalio Scouts for increased mark effect. I also have those reservation efficiency tattoos to squeeze all these auras in, and some resistance stats just to be capped, and a very loud and very annoying loyalty tattoo that keeps my rage up during bosses. Put this all together and this is what you get. All in all, this is truly one of the builds of all time, and if you're a weirdo like me and really want to make Chainhook work, who knows, you might enjoy it. If you liked the video, please give it a like, and if you really like my stuff and you want to support the channel, you can do so right here on YouTube by becoming a member. Thanks for your support. It isn't super tanky, it sucks against real bosses, Chainhook will sometimes straight up not hit targets that you're locked onto for some reason, and it cost me about 100 divines. So, was it worth it? Yeah, no, this build is terrible. Don't play it.